Just starting off, kind of recapping Abilene Christian. Thought it was a very productive game. Thought we did some nice things. Offensively, we were spearheaded by Colin Hill. He was our, player of the game for the offense. Over 100 yards, his 7th 100-yard game of the season, and right on the cusp of breaking the school single-season record. So, real nice job by Colin in the game and our offensive line. Defensively, 2 first-year players, Fred Peters and Nathan Pickering, were the co-defensive players of the game. Those guys had a nice game. And then Tucker Day and Javante Payton were players of the game for special teams, and those guys did a real nice job as well. Scouts of the week, Willie Gay for the defense. He gives us a really, really good, realistic look. I thought he did he continues to do a really nice job in that capacity. Tristan Pisacani for the offense, and then Cody Swanson for the special teams. And then along with our performance on the field, guys are continuing to do a real nice job in the classroom. Powers Warren and Tyree Phillips were our student athletes of the week. So moving forward, obviously huge week, Egg Bowl week, Rivalry week. And know it's a game that means a ton to both schools, to the people of the state of Mississippi, to our players, to our coaches, to our fans. So, we can't wait to get on the field tonight and start preparations. Obviously, a lot of the kids have played against each other. We recruited a bunch of guys on their team. And, it's a game that's going to be played with great emotion, great passion, and, very excited to get to our second installation of it and make sure we're doing everything that we need to make sure that beautiful trophy stays put here in the Seal Building. It'll be a game where we honor our 26 seniors in their final game for the Maroon and White, guys who have done a ton over their careers to bring a lot of positive success to Mississippi State. So we'll make sure we send those guys out the right way. And it'll also be a game where we honor the teams from 1998 and 1999, 8 and 5 SEC West champs, and then the 10-2 team as well, led by the legendary Jackie Sherrill. So I think that'll be a great opportunity as well to pay respect to a couple of very, very impressive teams in Mississippi State history. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Get a mic. We'll start with Robbie in the front.
Coach, last year post game, you had the little scrum, I guess you could say, on the field. What was your impressions of that first Egg Bowl that you experienced, and then in recruiting as well? Recruiting in-state athletes and kind of the rivalry there. What's your first impressions and your impressions now of the Egg Bowl rivalry?
Just of that game or the rivalry in general?
Just, I guess, with that included.
Yeah, I mean, being a part of Pitt, Penn State, and growing up around Pitt, West Virginia, the backyard brawl, and you talk about 2 schools, with a lot in common and passionate fan bases, and I don't think you really quite understand it till you're in it. And I think leading up to the game, I got a pretty decent idea. But once the game started, and obviously, unfortunately, afterward, you kind of really got a true sense of what the rivalry means.
Coach, obviously, players know that they need this win to get to a bowl game. Not so much added pressure, but when you're in a rivalry game like that, is that a big factor, knowing you must have it to win a bowl game, or is it just on top of other factors?
Yeah, I think the kids are aware of it, and it's not something really that we even need to talk about. They know we're right on the cusp of bowl eligibility, and we got to win this one to get to the postseason. And I don't believe in feeling pressure. I believe in applying pressure. So they know that we need to have a great week of preparation. We'll start tonight on the field, and we got to do 2 things: make sure we play well and keep the egg here in Starkville. And if we do that, then we'll extend the season and get to play in the bowl game.
Last year, among the central figures in this game, you were the new guy. This year, I would say Tommy Stevens is that guy. What's something that you learned last year that you've tried to relate to him about this game?
We really haven't had that discussion yet. Probably do that a little bit later in the week. But with Tommy, and I think within our entire team, I think that you need to play this game with controlled passion and controlled aggression, and we need to let our play speak for us. Between the whistles, not before the game, not after the game, and just making sure that you can't let the excitement and the rivalry and kind of all those things that go into it take away from your preparation and your execution. So you really can't get caught up in the emotion of the game.
We'll go to Danny, then Joel.
Coach, Nick Epson's been around a long time, and he's been the consummate backup player at the running back position. Has had one start, I believe, in his career. But just talk about what he means to the team and the work he brings to the practice field every day.
Yeah, another really nice game last week against Abilene Christian. Nick, you look at his yards per carry in his career. He's been incredibly productive, as you mentioned. It's been a luxury, I guess, for Mississippi State and for our run game to have guys like Aries, guys like Kyle, and guys like Nick. And like you said, consummate teammate. A guy that never complains, never gripes, works hard during the week, and when he gets his opportunities in the game, he's made the most of them. So, Nick's been a great teammate this year, and he's done a great job on the field as well.
Plumlee for Ole Miss, of course, that has that breakaway speed
Yeah.
and things. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Nick Fitzgerald-ish, the way he can break away at times. What's kind of the not to give away a game plan or anything, but what's the strategy? What do you have to do to try and slow a guy like that down?
Tackling. No, I mean, no, he, John Rice, a great kid. Obviously, we recruit him. Mom and Dad, Denton and Lori, great people as well. But Coach Rodriguez does a great job, going back to his time at Michigan with Denard Robinson, and then, even going back to Pat White, who's now coaching at Alcorn, of, creating great design quarterback runs and putting people in conflict. And I think that's the thing that you see with John Rice, with Ely, with Phillips, and then the Connor kid, that they do a great job kind of making sure both of those guys are threats and having to defend the quarterback and the run back, and kind of similar to some of the stuff we do. So, he's a guy that's got tremendous speed, great escapability, and for a smaller guy, he runs with pretty good physicality too. So you just got to make sure you swarm and get him down on the ground, because he's made a lot of explosive plays.
We'll go to Tyler, then Brad.
Joe, have you had any talks with the administration about what this game might mean for your future at Mississippi State?
In what regard?
The outcome of the game.
No.
What do you think the outcome of the game means for your future at Mississippi State?
I think the outcome of this game means that we win the Egg Bowl and we go on to the postseason.
Joe, looking at this game right here, looking at the game being on Thanksgiving, have you put any thought into the difference in playing on a Thursday versus a Saturday, and your personal thoughts on this game being on Thanksgiving Day?
Two great American pastimes, turkey and football. So let's combine them together.
Coach, you guys have been running the football pretty good here lately. In your mind, when you watch your film, what's been the keys to that, other than just Kylan being pretty good and Nick being good in that? What's the offensive line going to change the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think you've, I don't want to say musical chairs, but we've had a lot of guys shuttling in and out of there, and guys playing different positions. And I think, Marcus's ability to cross-train them, during camp and during the season has helped when we've had to kind of slide guys in and out. But, I think, it's generally speaking, it's numbers, it's angles, it's grass, making sure you have a good game plan put together. The O-line and the tight ends blocking with great physicality, the running backs running with great pad level, and as much as we put the quarterback in the decision-making process for the some of the RPO and read stuff, making sure they're getting the ball to the right person.
We'll go to Logan, then to Steve.
Several guys left the Abilene Christian game with injuries. Any lingering effects from that, or in Cam Dantzler's status?
Cam's available. All the guys that went out from the game will be ready for tonight.
Coach, you mentioned Willie Gay being Scout Team Player of the Week again. I know that's probably an honor he's real happy to have, but how difficult has it been to have guys going from Scout Team to first team, and as far as your chemistry and practice and things of that nature?
It certainly doesn't help continuity. And when you have, everyone's aware of the situation. 10 at the beginning of the year, and then you have to pick the games that they're able to play, and then bouncing back and forth between scout team and travel squad. And, certainly is a game in all three phases of precision and consistency. And, that's just something, it's one of a few obstacles and roadblocks that we've had to deal with. And, I think the kids have kind of taken it in stride. And, this is just another one we're going to have to overcome.
Joe, obviously on the field it's a rivalry, but off the field in college football, a lot of talk about the arms race in college football and building up facilities and stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, you guys have gotten the new locker rooms this year, but how much do you guys look at, whether it's when you've been talks with John or whoever it is with administration, how much do you guys look at what other teams are doing in the SEC, and what's kind of the challenge of Mississippi State and being that maybe one of those smaller schools in the SEC and fighting through those things?
Yeah, we you're always looking to see what other people utilize in terms of facilities and resources and staff salary pool and things like that. and ways that you can improve and make your program better. And I think we've gotten incredible support from Mr. Cohen and our administration of doing what we're capable of doing within the constraints of our budget. And I think you look to all the positive things we're doing. New recruiting lounge, new players locker room, new graphics going up around the building, doing a lot of upgrades here. I think the next big step will be a new indoor facility, and I think that would really help us on a lot of levels. But I don't think we can sit here and realistically say that we're going to spend the type of money that some of the other schools do. But I think we're pushing the envelope forward. We're trying to make a lot of positive strides, and ultimately it's what's in the best interest of our student athletes, or where are we helping to put them in position to be successful with the things that we're accessible to, and I think for the most part we've done that.
Brad, then Brian.
Joe, obviously you don't play the game on paper. This Ole Miss secondary, 117th in the country, obviously, one of the poorest secondaries in the country. Looking at your receivers, Cyrus Mitchell, and of course, Stephen Guidry had a couple of drops this past Saturday. Who are some receivers you're going to be looking to attack the secondary?
Yeah, we, I think we did some nice things in the past game against Abilene Christian, and certainly wanted to take a huge step forward this year. And I think we made some incremental gains. I think you look at both teams, and they're kind of centered around the run game. But I think maybe not necessarily a volume or number of passes, but explosive plays, and I think that's what we need to do to complement our run game. And I think same thing, it'll be Osiris, Javante, Dedrick's had a real nice year, Zuber when he's had opportunities, and then Steven. And I think our tight ends have performed nicely too. And I think that's probably the one thing as you look at kind of the receiving stats that, historically speaking in this offense, we've had one Z, one H, one X, and one tight end take a majority of the reps, and that's resulted in a significantly higher number of catches and yards per person. And this is probably the one place where I've, rotated more people, where we have kind of two people playing each position, and we went through and kind of totaled up all the Z's catches, all the H's catches, all the X's catches. And if it was one person playing, it would kind of add up to some of those numbers that you've seen before. I think you can't just run the ball and be one-dimensional, so the pass game is going to have to be part of this game plan.
Brian, then Ben.
When you look at Ole Miss, they're so run-heavy, and they don't throw the ball as much as they probably would like to, sort of similar to what you were a season ago. Yeah. From a defensive standpoint, do you worrying too much about the run game, and it leaves you open to things in the pass game?
Yeah, and I think that's what Coach Rodriguez does very well. Some 10 personnel looks, some 11 personnel looks. They get into some of that two-back, one tight end stuff, and really create conflict. And when you're that concerned with stopping the run and needing to get people to the box, by secondary supported pressure, it creates some one-on-one matchups. And certainly they played John Rice, they played Corral. Elijah Moore, I think, has 815 yards receiving, I believe. And a couple guys have kind of chipped in along the way. But I think like anything, when you're committing numbers to stop the box, it's a give and take that you're going to have some guys playing, single coverage on the back end. So I think you got to do two things. You got to mix up the looks and get numbers and set edges. But at the same time, you have to be cognizant and aware of the ability to throw the ball down the field.
Joe, we've talked about, in the first quarter getting off to a quick start. Through this year, I think y'all have been outscored by almost double in the first quarter, at least through SEC play. And Ole Miss hasn't been all that much better. But how important is it to just get off the bus, get going, and get started in a game like this and, get points on, say, that first possession? Yeah,
like we talked about, I think a couple of times, first drive score is something that we chart. And I think out of 11, maybe we've hit it 5 or 6 times. But, yeah, particularly in a game where momentum is going to play a huge key. And you don't want to have the necessarily ups and downs. So starting fast, I think, is critical. And, whether it be the defense with a 3-and-out stop and a punt, or the offense getting points 3 or 7, I think that'll play critical in a game where emotions are running high.
Coach Tyler Williams has emerged in the secondary as a sophomore. Just what steps has he taken in your mind that gets him those starts?
I think Tyler's got a lot of natural ability. Tall, long guy. Very good speed, matches up well in man coverage. To me, it's the thing with Tyler is staying healthy and gaining reps and being more consistent. So between he and Cam and the 2 young freshmen, I think we got a nice, competitive 2 deep of guys who've been playing well. So I've seen Tyler make some nice improvements this season.
Coach, last year you used to talk a lot about playing with emotion but not playing emotionally.
Yeah.
When it's a rivalry game like this, how do you kind of manage that in practice to kind of prepare them for what's going to be an emotional environment?
Yeah. I think more than anything, you don't want to minimize the emotional component of it because the kids are going to be fired up by nature. So I don't know there's necessarily anything you're going to do to get them any more riled up. But all the pregame talk, all the pregame chatter, all the Newt Rockne fist through the chalkboard speeches, in about a series and a half, that's going to wear out, and you're going to fall back on your preparation, and the game's going to be dictated by the execution. So we want the guys taking the field fiery. We want them, to have great energy, great urgency, and play with physicality and passion. But at the same time, it's going to come down to how well we execute, not how hard we play.
I think it's been probably close to a month since we asked about Keaton, but where does he fit into the quarterback room in the last month, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, Keaton's done a great job, kind of digesting the game plan and continuing to work through some of his injuries. And, he's just, he's at a spot where, heading into the season, we talked about wanting to maintain his red shirt for him. And, he's coming out in practice trying to get a little bit better every day.
Yeah, he's a guy that's had success in the Egg Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I know Mississippi State didn't win that game, but is there any chance that I know you don't want to play three quarterbacks in this game, but is there any chance he might figure in?
We're going to get through the week of practice, give the guys repetitions. And like I said, there's always opportunities to – you want to do whatever you can to get your playmakers on the field. And KT is certainly a playmaker, so we'll see how the practice week goes.
Obviously, at least one game to go, maybe two. But so Tommy's career here isn't over. But what has he meant to this program this year? Obviously, we can look at the stat sheet and see what he's done that way. But from having Garrett behind him to everything, just how much do you feel like? How much of an impact do you think he'll be felt even after he's gone on from Mississippi State?
I think Tommy's made an incredibly positive impact in a very short amount of time. And I think that's a testament to the type of kid that he is, that he came in here and through his work ethic and, through his, I'll say leadership, earned the respect of his teammates, certainly them voting him captain. And I think it's kind of been a tale of two seasons for him almost in a certain regard that when he's been fully healthy, 100% healthy, we've won the games that he started and he's performed very admirably and very well. And, have an opportunity to go to, talk about the postseason bowl games and when he's been banged up, we haven't, I don't think, seen the true Tommy. So I think, I think he's done a lot, I'll say, to help our kids, but, he's been a very good leader. I think he's been a very good vocal teammate. And I think, when he's had his opportunity, he's been healthy, he's performed very well.
Coach Marcus Johnson's done a good job with the offensive line this year after losing someone like Elton Jenkins and some others. Just talk about how he's pieced that together this year.
Yeah, he's had probably, outside of the kind of the suspensions and some of the other injuries at other positions, probably had the most challenging year just in terms of moving guys around. But, for us to be able to run the ball with the effectiveness and productivity that we do, I think that's a testament to the offensive line and, getting those guys, prepared to play at multiple positions, having them play with great physicality. I think we've seen improved pass blocking throughout the year. One of our offensive goals is 2 sacks or less in the game, and I think we've hit that a majority of the time. So I think, getting to know Marcus from the first time I met him when he was at Duke and their staff came up to visit us at Penn State, and he was a guy that I put down on my list as a potential hire. I think his performance as an offensive line coach and the offensive line's productivity has really validated that thought process.
Joe, you mentioned Tommy and sort of the stuff that he's had to deal with this year.
Excuse me.
What does that say about him, and I guess what does that kind of maturity show for younger players in terms of dealing with adversity and things like that come with the season?
I mean, you guys have met him and had the opportunity to talk to him. He's just, first and foremost, take football out of it. He's just a great kid and someone I think that you'd be proud to call a son or a brother. And I love Tommy like a son. And, you want the best for him in this last game. You hope that we're able to take care of business and the season extends. But he's a guy, whether it's football or I know he wants to get into coaching once football ends. So hopefully he has an opportunity at the next level. But I talk to our young guys, particularly the true freshmen, about modeling their behaviors after upperclassmen who do things the right way. So you talk about guys like Tommy Stevens, you talk about guys like Darrell Williams, accountable in the classroom, do all the right things, in terms of their academics, never in a stitch of trouble off the field. And then when you look at their work ethic and their productivity in terms of preparation in the game, that those are guys who are good leaders because they do it the right way on and off the field. And I think Tommy's a kind of the definition of a consummate student athlete.
Danny, then Brian.
Coach, what's the Thanksgiving holiday mean to you, and what are your plans with you and your family? I know the football game is going to come into play with that, but just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've got my in-laws have been in town since before. They've been here. It's been a while. They're Archie and Vicky. They're fantastic. But no, I mean, we'll have Thanksgiving dinner tonight at the facility after practice for our players and our families. Because we're obviously going to be busy on Thursday night. But I mean, not to get I don't say emotional, but I mean, you talk about it being a day of thanks, and I don't know that as a man of faith, I mean, that there's, you have your health, you have your family, you have the opportunity to be a coach at a wonderful place like Mississippi State. You have great kids. There's just, a lot to be thankful for, and, not just specific to football. So, it's a day where, I'm grateful to be blessed with a wonderful family, wife and kids, great mom and dad, great brothers and sisters, very supportive extended family. And then certainly for the opportunity to be here at Mississippi State and be the head coach of the Bulldogs.
You talked about keeping emotions in check, and of course, after last year's game, there was some talk that the conference office wanted to meet with the athletic directors and have a conversation. Have you heard any direction from the conference office or from the administration here about, keeping things between the whistles, like you said earlier?
I mean, there have been discussions, but it's pretty implicit. I mean, to a certain extent, I don't know that you're going to be able to completely quell some of the fire and the emotion that go into a rivalry game, or else it's not a rivalry. You know what I mean? So, but like I said a little bit earlier, we want our play in this game and for all Egg Bowl games to be known for our competitiveness and execution. Between the whistles, not any nonsense before the game, not any post snap chicanery, and certainly nothing that happens after the game, regardless of how it goes. So, to me, this is a game that. Mr. Cohen, our administration, obviously, Commissioner Sankey in the league office want to be played between the whistles, and that's where it should be played.
Steve in the back.
Coach, I know it's been a challenging season on and off the field in some respects. So you got a chance to, as you mentioned, extend the season and get to the postseason. Outside of that, what would a win in this ball game mean for you?
It would mean everything to me, and I think it would mean everything to these kids and our fans and this university and the great state of Mississippi, because this is the game. And I understand it, understand the magnitude of it. President Keenum kind of clearly expressed that when we first got the job. So, I'm very excited for the opportunity to play this game. I know our kids are fired up, our fans are fired up as well. They should be, but I don't think it's Egg Bowl week, and we got to do everything we can, like I said, to make sure that trophy stays put downstairs in the case.
We talked a lot about Tommy and what he's going to mean to this game, deservedly so, but with how unpredictable the quarterback situation has been this year.
You think?
Yeah.
Gosh.
What are your thoughts on Garrett Schrader and what he might mean to the game if he's thrust in there? He's never seen a college football rivalry game like this, but he seems like he's up for the task.
Yeah. The kids came in and he's produced, and got in the game, and I think it was 2 scoring drives, 3 for 3, 40 yards. Touchdown running, nice long throw to Javonte. But I think one of the things that will benefit Garrett in this game is his 2 things: his confidence in himself and his abilities, and his, I'll say, relatively unflappable nature that you really can't tell whether he just threw a touchdown or a pick six. I think he's a guy that is kind of steady in an emotional game, is in pretty good control of his emotions, but also has shown in big game environments. First drive he was in at Auburn, down the field for a touchdown. Some of the things he did against Tennessee, first start in an SEC game against Kentucky, leading us to a win, and so on down the line. So, Garrett has, afforded the luxury of being in this game. I don't think the stage will be too big, nor the magnitude of the game.